example, that can be stressful and lead to downfall, maybe grades in school. And
dating was around 16. That's when I started. I do believe that dating is getting really serious now, and you probably shouldn't take things so seriously. If you do, you should probably get out of these relationships, because right now it's all about having fun.
We're back with teens and dating. Are all of you dating now, and when did you start dating?
I think people start dating, they date at, like, a younger age, but they really don't get serious or anything until, like, they're in high school or something, you know?
So what age are we talking about?
Like,
15,
yeah, I think it depends on the person. I went out with somebody for, like, 7 months, and I was in, like, 7th grade.
Now, how do you go out with someone in 7th grade?
I don't know. I guess it just depends on the person. I mean, just like for me and that person, it worked out really well.
You went to the movies?
No, we didn't, like, do stuff like that, but it was just, like, we did a lot of stuff together, like, with, like, our friends and stuff. We were, like, always together in school.
and you have, like, group dates one time, and then you like, go and you get the double dates and then single dates.
So what about 14 or so, you're going on group dates and girls and guys? And
It doesn't really get, like, double, like, just, like, 2 single people until, like, maybe, like, 15 or 16.
Yeah. Oh, our groups aren't that big. It's, like, usually, like, a grade plus 6 people, like 3 couples or something.
3 couples. So usually by 16 are most kids going on single dates?
Yeah. Because then you can drive, you know, you don't have to your parents drive you.
Yeah, that's, like, so embarrassing.
Okay.
My mom would come pick you up at, like...
So now who calls? When you first meet a person that you're interested in going out with, do you call that person or do they call you? And is it tough for the guys to call a girl?
Yeah, it would. I'm sure it would make guys feel a lot better if girls would do some of the calling, but I don't know. It usually falls into the guys' laps.
Well, it's like the girls are too scared, though, because, like, most guys are really, you have to be, you know, just to go out with them, you have to be perfect and everything, and girls are afraid of, like, rejection or something.
I've had bad experiences with that, about how, like, you know, you finally get the nerve to say something and they're like, you know, whatever.
But the thing is, guys have to deal with that, too. It's not just girls that would get rejected.
Well, do you think girls should ask guys out?
I think if a girl's interested and you're in the same position, you'd be in the same position we would be in if you were to ask someone out. I mean, you don't know until you get your response.
So is the big thing the fear of rejection and what they'll say, oh my goodness, he had the nerve to ask me out, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Usually, I don't know about other people. I wait until I pretty much know if they're going to say yes or not until I ask them out.
Maybe, like, have a friend call or something?
Yeah.
So you sort of hang around a little bit?
Yeah. You have your friends talk to them or somebody, and you know somebody that knows them, so you're going to be like, hey, what you doing?
So who pays when you go out?
That's confusing.
Yeah.
Usually the people say, whoever calls, whoever asks usually pays.
But most of the time the guys feel responsible to pay.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
In my experience, though, the girls that I've gone out with, they don't like me to pay, for me to pay. They feel bad about it, I guess. And I want to pay, but...
So what do? Do you pay and then they pay for theirs?
I try to, but a lot of times it ends up I pay for myself and she pays for herself.
So you like to pay for girls? Is what you're saying? Most guys like to pay for girls?
Kind of. I guess you feel kind of bad if you don't. Because
you're supposed to be the man and the...
Well, you're a couple, and you feel bad if, you're just individually paying.
Okay. Well, we're talking about all the positive aspects of dating, but there are some aspects that are not so positive, namely date violence. And when we come back, we're going to have an expert on date violence join us and give us all the inside tips on what to avoid. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Emily Gibson. On dating, I don't think that there's a specific age when you're ready to date. I think children know when or young adults know when they're ready, and I think parents who try to stop their children from dating are setting themselves up to have rebellious children.
Hi, I'm Mike Avery. I hope you can join me for the next Outdoor Magazine show as we check out the outdoor action. First, we'll get some tips on choosing the right vehicle for your outdoor adventures. Then it's some early season steelhead fishing on a southern Michigan river. Plus, Dixie Dave Miner joins us with another great-tasting wild game dinner. I hope you can join me. Outdoor Magazine Sunday at 6:30 on TV5.
Thinking about buying one of the new small satellite dishes? Make it a point to check with your salesperson and installer to guarantee that you'll be able to see News 5 and the networks from WNEM TV5. You'll have to have a regular antenna hooked up at the same time as your dish. If you can see TV5's regular broadcast over the air, you cannot by law also receive our CBS network signal from your satellite dish. Don't be disappointed. Get an antenna hooked up when you buy your satellite dish.
Went through the procedure, went in the morning, had the work done, had very little problems, and he gave me a prescription for pain pills, which I didn't have any pain when I went home, so I never did fill the prescription for the pain pills.
Dental implants, the high-tech alternative for tooth replacement. Call St. Mary's Medical Center Dental Implant Center for a consultation.
Hi, I'm Leona Lay. I'm 17 years old, and I think once you're in high school, you can decide for yourself whether you're responsible enough to juggle a relationship in school and everything else that's going on in your life.
We're back with Stacy King from the Bay County Women's Center, and she is going to talk with us about education in terms of not just date rape. There's a lot of things under that heading, aren't there? Sounds good. Stacy, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. What is dating violence?
Well, dating violence basically, in layman terms, consists of any sort of violence that two dating partners conflict on one another. It can consist of physical violence, such as pushing and shoving and hitting, that type of thing. It can be sexual abuse, in other words, date rape. It can be emotional abuse, someone constantly calling you names, degrading you, that type of thing. It can also be a sort of isolation, maybe a boyfriend trying to control who your friends are, telling you that, you don't need to be friends with that girl because she's not good enough for you, and that type of thing. So it can be a form of isolation also.
How often does it occur? Is it very common?
It's very common. 1 in 4 girls will be affected by dating violence by the time they're in high school or college.
Is it mainly against girls, or does it occur against guys?
It does occur against guys. I really don't know the statistic on that, but it does occur in guys. Not nearly as much as it occurs on females.
Do you think it happens more than what people actually report it in because they're scared or something?
Definitely. It happens probably 5 times as often as what people report it, because lots of people don't know that it is a thing, that it actually...
Do you think people are scared to report it, though, because it might happen again if he doesn't get convicted?
I think a lot of people are scared of it. A lot of people are embarrassed about it.
Do a lot of guys get like abused too?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's, definitely even marital in marriages, husbands get abused and stuff. So it is both ways, but as for domestic violence, 95% of the cases reported are women being abused by men rather than men being abused by women. But it does happen both sides. But we usually focus on the men abusing the women because the statistics are so much higher.
When you take it to the courts and stuff, would it be more on the girl because she went out with them and she left with him?
No, regardless of what your choices are, what you chose to do, if somebody violates you, you are the victim. It is not your fault. It is the perpetrator's fault.
How serious of a problem is it? Does it ever result in death?
Oh, definitely. Domestic violence itself, which includes dating violence, often does lead to murder, homicide.
Do you see people a lot that break up with them for a while even though they raped them, and then who didn't get convicted, and then they go back to them and then end up getting raped or killed? Or
I'm sure it happens. I don't know how often, but lots of times, it's very hard to leave a relationship, and maybe, he's come back, apologized for it over and over again. Maybe they were dating for a long time, and she still loves them, and she thinks they'll still work out and be all right. So I'm sure it happens. But
what kind of a punishment would one get? What would they do to the guy for, just say he beat her up once. What would they do to him?
Well, you can get a PPO against them so that he can't come within so many feet of the girl. Sometimes if they're taken to court, they will be charged with having to go to a batterers group and learn that what you're doing is wrong and you need to take responsibility for it.
Does it work?
It works. It takes a long time, though. They have to make a constant effort to not let their anger overtake them and realize that it's a choice.
Are the penalties different for a boy or a girl, or are they the same?
They're the same.
have you seen many cases of women abusing men or at all?
Well, I haven't seen them myself or anything, but like I said earlier, the percentage is such a difference, 95 women being abused versus 5 of men being abused, and it's probably about what it is in dating violence, same way.
Does it occur more when you're dating or when you're married?
Actually, just plain abuse, like physical abuse and verbal abuse, it happens all the time. Lots of times it's known that once a woman gets pregnant, lots of times that's when battering starts. But usually once it starts, it's going to continue and get worse. So once you feel it, it's going to...
Like, I know this girl, and she thinks she led the guy on, so she won't press charges against him, because she went upstairs with him and everything, and she said no, though, and now, like, she might be pregnant, and, like, she's afraid to do anything about it because she thinks it's her fault.
It's not her fault at all. I mean, she said no. She was raped. It's his fault, period. So it's not her fault at all.
What kind of cases do you really handle at your work?
We handle, what we are, we're a shelter for battered women and their children, and we basically handle domestic violence and sexual assault issues.
What's the age group, the basic age group that's in there?
We can have anybody in there in shelter from 18 years old and up. We also have what we call a BAT group, which is, we have a counselor that counsels batterers for men, so we also have that service.
You're talking about a PCO, what is that?
Oh, personal protection order, sorry.
Oh, okay.
That
Kind
like
of like a restraining order?
Right.
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
Do you think, if a child sees it, do you think it would affect the child after?
If a child grows up in a violent home, it's 1,000 times more likely to be in either a violent relationship or to be violent to his or her partner. So it really does increase.
It's like a chain or something.
Yes, basically a chain, you know, just like how sooner or later you guys are going to grow up and start realizing, Jesus, that sounded just like my mother and I just said it. You know, it's basically the same sort of thing.
So,
what you see, what you grow up with, it ends up being
So if
what
young
you
children, if like they see it and then they go to your shelter, do you like put them in counseling right away?
We have one-on-one counseling and we also have group counseling. So, and we counsel the children and we counsel the women.
And do their husbands like ever show up or anything?
Oh, yeah, once in a while. We just ask them to leave and they do.
Okay. So we had like a man like come to like see his wife or whatever and then like beat her up right in the middle of the...
No.
That's good.
Okay.
Do you like put the children in school, or do they have a way to go to school if
Yep,
they're
they
there?
have a school that they can go to when they're at the shelter, so.
Okay.
Okay.
What types of things do you do for the women, like when they come in?
Well, we basically let them, we give them everything. Lots of times they come in with nothing other than what's on their backs. So, you know, we can give them all their clothing. You know, it's basically like a home to them for a few weeks. So we give them everything they can possibly need at home that they need there.
How long do they stay there?
We try and keep it to just a couple or a few weeks, but they can stay there as long as they need to.
I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you think jealousy leads to a lot of violence?
I think jealousy has a very large input on abusing relationships. Lots of the teenagers think that jealousy is a measurement of how strong the relationship is. Lots of people think that, well, he's really jealous of me talking to this guy, so he likes me even more. And that's not true. Jealousy is a normal human reaction, but it's actually low self-esteem is where it comes from. So
it's good to have like your own friends and you can talk to other people and stuff.
Oh, definitely, yes. Once somebody starts to isolate you and tell you that you shouldn't talk to your friends and all this other stuff, you should be aware and something should be going off in your mind thinking, this might get worse than what it really is.
Most girls when they're in a relationship, they wonder how long it is before guys like want to have sex and like guys, most of the guys just want to have sex. That's why they're in it. So.
No, I think that's a common misconception about guys. I mean, I know a lot of girls that are in it for sex. That's why they go out.
I'm just saying most guys. There's a lot of guys, like I'll just flip up for you tonight to meet guys.
That's based on the stereotype, though.
Right.
Well, that's what most people think, but in my personal experience, my friends, none of them do that. I don't know any guys that really only go out with girls just for sex. I don't know what it's like at your school.
It happens with a lot of like the football players, the jazz people, like they have to keep their status.
Yeah, they have to like be macho and be
Yeah.
one
I
of
have
the
a lot
guys.
of guys in my family, so I kind of know all their little tricks and everything.
Yeah.
They can't fool me.
Yeah.
But they are good guys.
Exactly, there are good guys, and there are good girls, and there are bad girls and bad guys, but, as for all guys wanting to go out and have sex, just, you know, and that's the only point of them wanting to go out with you, well, you know, we all
You have to use your best judgment.
Exactly, use the best judgment, and that's really even on dating violence, too, follow your instinct. You know, if you have a bad feeling about somebody driving down this back road instead of taking the main road, you know, be aware of this and be aware of what's going on around you and who you're with. Even though you know a guy for, say, 7 months or however long, he can still, you know, you never know. You don't know everything about everyone, so you need to be aware.
Do you think, like, even though we've already covered that the guys like to pay and everything, do you think the girls should still have money in case something?
Definitely, one of the safety issues that I always tell girls is to have money with them at all times, because you never know when you're going to have to call home or when you're going to have to get a taxi or take a bus home. Always be able to rely on yourself rather than have to rely on somebody else.
Have you ever taken a self-defense class?
I myself, no.
No. Do you recommend it?
I do recommend it, I guess, you know.
A lot of guys, though, I mean, if they kind of figure that, well, maybe she might want to go home. I mean, what if they, like, rape her and leave her, like, in the middle of nowhere where there's no phones anywhere? And they just, like, leave her there, like, to die or something. I mean, what would the money be used for?
Well, I guess the money would be used on a phone, but that's just one precaution that you can take. You know, and there's so many other precautions you can take, you know, as to go in a group, go with a couple other people, you know, meet in a public place. Don't go in his car alone and go over to his home where his mom and dad are supposedly home, but they aren't.
Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess if you have to worry about that, I think there's a problem.
Like, don't go out with the guy unless you know him or go on a double date or something.
Have you ever been in a bad relationship like that?
No.
No.
Nope. I've had good luck. But I've also been aware of what's going on around me, and I've always taken precautions.
Have you ever had any friends in a bad relationship like that?
I know some people that have been in bad relationships and everything.
I know a lot of people.
Would your advice be to most teenagers or adults, like if they're in a situation, like, never give up fighting for it, or, like, no means no?
Right, exactly. No means no, regardless of who you are, where you're at, what you have on, how you walk, or anything else. You know, if it's coming down to date rape, it's never the victim's fault. It's always the perpetrator's fault, regardless of what the situation was, regardless if she was drunk or not.
Like my school, I think a lot of people feel like they're not the victims. They're the reason that why it happened. You know, it's their fault.
But it's not their fault. That's what they need to know, is that it's not their fault.
And the guys blame them for it lots of the time.
But like I said, it's not their fault, regardless. Okay. Some of the things that you might want to be aware of, if you know a friend that is in a violent relationship, is to listen to them. Never, you know, say, "Oh, right, you're just making this all up." Very seldom do people lie about abuse, and they very seldom lie about being raped. So always listen to them. Don't spread gossip. I know gossip is very big in high school. Don't talk about it, especially in front of the perpetrator, because if she is in an abusive relationship and she goes home with her boyfriend, he may end up violating her and, you know, beating her up or something like that. So those are the two most important things: be confidential and to listen and support. Okay, and she can also call the Women's Center and get some help there. So.
Sounds good. Stacy, it sounds like you've seen quite a lot in your different experiences at the Women's Resource Center. Are you having a lot of teenagers come in?
A lot of teenagers are calling and asking questions and coming in for counseling.
Well, hopefully none of our teenagers or anyone who's listening today will ever need your services. So thank you again for joining us. We're going to be right back after this. Stay with us.
Beginning Tuesday on News 5 at 6, labor unions have a rich history in mid-Michigan, but what about their future?
There's no question organized labor has to change.
There's a lot on the line as the debate heats up over unions and their place in today's economy.
Bad times are better for unions than good times.
Have unions outlived their usefulness, or are they still essential? News 5 anchor Sam Merrill tackles this controversial issue. Plus, you can call in your opinion on the changing state of the unions. Beginning Tuesday on News 5 at 6, together with you.
And drought and famine.
Lacks the power to stir our hearts. Simplest thing in the world is to just turn all this off, because things never seem to get any better, do they? For the last 18 years, I visited areas where the day-to-day living conditions are unthinkable. And it's the children who always suffer the most. At times I've wanted to turn it off too, but I can't, because I can't forget the raw sewage that runs by where children eat and sleep. I can't ignore the babies losing their eyesight because they didn't get simple vitamins. I can't turn away from the listless girls and boys who are near death simply because they have no food or water. But I've seen something else, too. I've seen babies come alive with new health because of miracles made possible by people who called and became Save the Children sponsors. But we still have a long way to go. We urgently need you to call Save the Children now. It doesn't take much. $20 a month. Your money isn't used as a direct handout. Instead, it will be combined with donations of other sponsors to help your child and all the children in a community. So you can continue to turn off the need. Or you can call this number and say yes to sponsoring one precious girl or boy. I promise you can help make these haunting pictures go away. Please call.
We're back with dating, and Stacy covered a great deal in terms of dating violence and date rape, but I, from a parent's point of view, want to know what you think about the parent's role. Where do parents come into this? Because I have a 16-year-old, and she's only dated once. She went with a young man to the mall, and she was so, she wasn't really pleased when my husband said, "Hello, young man, who are you, and what's your name, and what does your dad do, and what does your mom do?" And he had a million questions. She says, "Mom, don't ever let Dad meet anyone again."
Well,
so do you go through that with your parents?
No, I think the parents should meet them to see, like, you know, just make sure you're going out with someone who's good and not going to hurt you or something.
My parents said they didn't want to meet anybody. They said, "You're not getting married to him." I said, "Okay."
So do your parents normally, though, formally greet them at the door?
Yeah. I think it's kind of embarrassing when you go into somebody's house the first time and they sit there and, like, totally surround your mind with a whole bunch of questions, and you're just like, "I just want to go to the mall."
Yeah, and then the guy starts saying, "When can we leave?" You know, that kind of thing. But don't you think should parents have some idea of the phone number where their daughter's going?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that's kind of personal, asking them, like, where your parents work and what do you do, and...
Well, that's certain men, yes.
Yeah.
Some dads are going to ask more questions than others, and some dads sort of maybe go overboard. But parents, of course, we're always concerned. What about some situations that you're seeing that you're not comfortable with? Kissing in the halls and
I don't
a lot
think
of
that's it. I think when people, like, do it too much and...
Yeah, I mean, you see the same people over and over and over again.
Not that big of a deal.
I mean, I can understand if you're single and, like, not seeing anyone, but, you know, like, when you're actually in the relationship,
it's your
if you
choice.
don't see that one that much, if you're, you know, in the halls or whatever, I think, you know, I think it's okay. I mean, if you're, you know, you can't, like, make out in the hall, but...
In most schools,
you know...
if you get caught, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I don't think it's fair. I mean, they call it, like, hugging is bad in, like, our school. They call it public display of affection.
So you're not allowed to touch in school. What about curfews? Robin, you take a girl out, what time do most parents want you to have her back?
Actually, not. I don't personally have a curfew, because, I don't know, I'm a good kid, I guess, but...
So what
usually,
time?
By, like, 1:30.
1:30.
Well, that's my time.
My son's parents are pretty lenient.
Is that normal?
I think usually it's midnight.
Midnight.
Well, see, like, I don't go out every week. I go out, but I don't stay out really, really late. So if I call my mom and I tell her I'm going to be later, she doesn't mind. But you just make sure you call and make sure you're okay.
But what's the general curfew?
I think it's general. I think it's about midnight.
And then I think it depends on, like, have you ever lied to your parents? But it really depends on you, of how much your parent trusts you.
But what are you doing after midnight that you can't do before midnight? Is it a party?
Like, we go bowling or parties or...
Okay, so it's an activity that lasts a little bit longer than you explained.
Well, the Club in Bay City, that's till 12, and then when we got to come back to Saginaw, we don't get back until about 1 anyway.
Okay. I think what we're talking about in dating is responsibility. Knowing the person that you're dating, making sure that you let your parents know, making sure that you don't let them abuse you. Dating is responsibility, and it's fun, but it can also be a lot of headaches. That's our show for this week. Have a good week.